All right, fellow fact checkers, be sure to head over to Fox and Sons Coffee and check out the best coffee sponsor a guy could ever hope for. And if you use the code FCT for Fact Check This at checkout, you will get 18% off any order of $25 or more. Also, be sure to check out the subscription packages. And any order of $37.99 or more goes free shipping. Check out the light blend, the dark blend, the medium blend, the electric boogaloo, and the decaf. Be sure to check out Fox and Sons Coffee. So let's start the show. This episode will be completely taken out of context. Welcome to the Fact Check This podcast. All right, Fact Check This podcast, and as promised, for those who subscribe to the daily episodes, I am going to look at how Florida is destroying its universities and its educational system and all of that fun stuff. This is interesting. So for a follow-up, for those who don't subscribe to the daily stuff, there was an article that talked about how Florida parents are complaining that their kids aren't allowed to say gay, their kids aren't allowed to be taught Black history. It's really disturbing and it's really saddening them, and they're even considering leaving the state. And I'm sure the majority of Floridians say fuck you, bye, but the whole reason that they're upset is actually complete and total hogwash. And that's what we're going to look at today, some of the hogwash, because this is an article from CNN and another one from The Atlantic. And everybody knows how much I love The Atlantic for the ridiculousness, and this particular Atlantic article is from my very, very favorite contributor to The Atlantic, Tom Nichols. He is quite possibly the most trash journalist that I think I've ever read anything from. Sean, if there is a worse one, please let me know, because I would like to check them out, because I'm sure I can get some good content out of them too. And then CNN it's fucking CNN. The only thing I hate worse than CNN is the reader view on CNN's articles, because they are actually less navigable than the regular website. So let's start with the CNN one. DeSantis administration rejects proposed AP African American Studies class in Florida high schools. The administration of Republican Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida is blocking a new advanced placement course for high school students on African American studies. In a January 12th letter to the College Board, the nonprofit organization that oversees AP coursework, the Florida Department of Education's Office of Articulation said the course is inexplicably contrary to Florida law and significantly lacks educational value. In the future, should College Board be willing to come back to the table with lawful, historically accurate content, FDOE will always be willing to reopen the discussion, the letter stated. While the letter did not elaborate on what the agency found objectionable in the course content, DeSantis spokesman Brian Griffin said in a statement to CNN that the course leaves large, ambiguous gaps that can be filled with additional ideological material, which we do not allow. As the Department of Education has previously stated, if the College Board amends the course to comply, provides a full course curriculum, and incorporates historically accurate content, then the department will reconsider the course for approval. In a statement to CNN, the College Board declined to directly address the decision in Florida, but said, "We look forward to bringing this rich and inspiring exploration of African American history and culture to students across the country." The rejection of an advanced placement African American Studies course follows efforts by DeSantis to overhaul Florida's educational curriculum to limit teaching about critical race theory. In 2021, the state enacted a law that banned teaching the concept, which explores the history of systemic racism in the United States and its continued impacts. The law also banned material from the 1619 Project, a Pulitzer Prize-winning project by the New York Times to reframe American history around the arrival of slave ships on American shores. Last year, DeSantis also signed a bill restricting how schools can talk about race with students. We're going to stop right there for just a second. They banned the 1619 Project because it's complete and total bullshit. It's not based on fact. It's not based on reality. It's all a bunch of made up nonsense. It runs with a narrative that they want to promote while completely ignoring the actual history and the facts. It's right to ban that. That should not be taught in schools. Critical race theory should also be banned. That's not something that should be taught to students, and because it's nonsense. So yeah, I mean, they're doing the right thing. How terrible of them to actually expect that if the College Board is going to put forth some advanced placement curriculum, that maybe it should have actual historical facts and accuracy. I don't know. Sounds weird, right? I mean, especially when you consider that since this is an advanced placement course and it's intended for students who are going to be going to college or something like that. And obviously colleges don't actually care about facts or like truth. They're all about narrative and whatever the current thing is, promoting the bullshit. And then, I mean, yeah, it would make sense that the College Board would put forth a course like this that's missing large portions and not factually or historically accurate. Checks out. Carrying on. College Board unveiled plans to offer an African American Studies class for the first time last year. The course is being offered as a pilot in 60 schools across the country during the 2022-23 school year, with the goal of making the course available to all schools in the 2024-25 school year. The first AP African American Studies exam would be administered in the spring of 2025, according to the College Board website. Griffin shared an apparent syllabus for the class with CNN, but did not identify which portions the state found problematic. The 81-page document, labeled a preview from February 2022, provided a course framework covering key topics that extend from the medieval kingdoms of West Africa to the ongoing challenges and achievements of the contemporary movement. It was not immediately clear if Florida had any schools currently participating in the pilot program. The College Board said the Advanced Placement Program has been working with higher education institutes to develop an African American Studies program for a decade. Like all new AP courses, AP African American Studies is undergoing a rigorous multi-year pilot phase, collecting feedback from teachers, students, scholars, and policymakers, the statement said. The process of piloting and revising course frameworks is a standard part of any new AP course. The frameworks often change significantly as a result. We will publicly release the updated course framework when it is completed, and well before this class is widely available in American high schools. Lisa Hill, the history department chair at Hamden Hall Country Day School in Connecticut, and one of the teachers piloting the new course, said she was baffled by DeSantis' administration's criticism. I must tell you for sure we don't have a political agenda, Hill told CNN when reached by phone Thursday. It is not a course of indoctrination. My philosophy of education is you learn and discuss and debate so you get better understanding of what's presented to you. We teach facts, she added. We're not delving into theory. Hill, who was a co-chair of the committee that helped develop the course, said, of course, one of the teachers teaching the course helped to develop it and is going to definitely say that it's only facts, it's not theory. But she noted that it's also not a history course. It's a multidisciplinary study of African American diaspora that includes literature, the arts, science, politics, and geography. History includes all of those things. So what is it? It's dumb. I just know that we have taken the time to make sure we have been careful to be inclusive, to make sure that students are getting information that many did not know about. She said, my students have embraced it. They have been inquisitive. It will be fair because sometimes history is ugly, and I don't believe you need to shy away from that. In a Twitter post Wednesday, Democratic State Senator Chevron Jones, who is Black, noted that Florida offers other cultural AP courses. This political extremism and its attack of Black history and Black people is going to create an entire generation of Black children who won't be able to see themselves reflected at all within their own education or in their own state. Lady, they currently can't see themselves reflected in any education because they're not getting an education. All of these large urban schools where most of these black kids go are drowning. They are churning out illiterate children, sending adults out into the world who can't read and write. Like, not can't read and write above a 5th grade level, like straight up fucking can't read and write. I mean, holy shit. DeSantis' move comes as his standing amongst conservatives has soared nationwide following his public stances on hot-button cultural issues and against public health officials and bureaucrats during the COVID-19 pandemic. He is said to be weighing a potential 2024 presidential bid. A group of Republican state legislatures in Michigan seeking to draft him for the 2024 contest signed on to a letter that was hand-delivered to the Florida governor last month, asking that he seek the presidential nomination of our Republican Party. The letter was signed by 18 GOP members of the Michigan Senate and House, who wrote that DeSantis is uniquely and exceptionally qualified to provide the leadership and competence that is, unfortunately, missing at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. In closing, they said, they stand ready and willing to help you win Michigan in 2024. I have abso-fucking-lutely no idea what the last 3 paragraphs had anything to do with this whole story. And at no point do they actually go into, like, they have said that they have a copy of the curriculum. At no point do they actually give any of the details of the curriculum. They even have a person who came up with the curriculum and put it together, who at no point gives any of the details of what is factual or accurate or why. They just said, we think we did a good job with this. We're not teaching theory. We're teaching facts. It's like, show me the facts. Show me the curriculum. I guess the onus also falls on the side of the Florida Board of Education to show what specific parts of this were lacking, and I may end up looking it up and see if I can find more on it. But I mean, a lot of the stuff that they're doing, like it talked about, removing critical race theory and the Don't Say Gay bill, which did not say that in any way, shape, form, or fashion. That just says that you can't teach sex to kids under, like, I can't remember what it was, below 5th grade or something, 3rd grade. That kind of fucking makes sense, right? Or, removing the 1619 project. Like, these are good things. These are, like, this is legit. Like, the 1619 project is complete bullshit. Critical race theory is complete bullshit. Teaching young kids about sex and gender identity and all that, like, that's complete nonsense. So, I mean, this is all good stuff as far as I can tell. I have no interest in DeSantis running for president. Actually, I would rather not see another Biden term or whoever they end up shuffling in place of him. But I feel like Trump is the better option to run again. Not that I necessarily am a big supporter of Trump. I just, like, DeSantis needs to run Florida the way DeSantis is running Florida, and kind of establish the precedent that hopefully other governors will grow some balls and take up, that, hey, you can just, like, run your state the right way and ignore all this dumbassery that goes on elsewhere. So that's kind of my hope as far as that goes. Moving on to the next article from my very, very favorite author, Tom Nichols. Florida has a right to destroy its universities. If Ron DeSantis wants to gut Florida's public colleges, that's up to Floridians. Elections have consequences. Florida's governor has decided to root out wrongthink at one of Florida's public colleges, and his harebrained meddling will likely harm the school, but he has every right to do it. Florida's Soviet commissaires. Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis has set out to ruin one of Florida's public colleges. He appointed several board members to the ideologically progressive New College of Florida, with apparently a mandate to somehow rebuild it and thus save it from its dreaded wokeification. Hopefully for the cause of screwing up a college, hopefully for the cause of screwing up a college, most of the new overseers aren't from Florida and don't live there. One of them, in fact, is Christopher Rufo, a young man from the Manhattan Institute who has no actual experience in higher education, but does have a genuine talent and for rhetoric that he seems to have gained at the Soviet Higher Institute of Pedagogy somewhere in Moscow or Leningrad circa 1970. Here we go with the I always love how the party that actually behaves like commies and Nazis wants to call everybody else commies and Nazis. Like, you're fucking rich. Bristling at criticism from the Harvard professor Steven Pinker, Rufo fired back on social media, "We're in charge now." He tweeted, adding that his goal was constitutionally mandated democratic governance to correct the ideological corruption of public universities. As they would have said during those old party meetings, the comrades' remarks about implementing the just and constitutional demands of the people to improve ideological work in our educational collectives and remove corruption from the ranks of our teaching cadre were met with prolonged, stormy applause. This dude's such a dipshit. Rufo is part of a new generation of young right-wing activists who have managed to turn trolling into a career. God, I wish I was that successful at trolling. Mostly I just piss off feminazis, which, I mean, it works. It's fun. Good for him, I guess, but these self-imagined champions of a new freedom are every bit as dogmatic as the supposed leftist authoritarians they think they're opposing. Their demands for ideological purity are part of an ongoing hustle meant to convince ordinary Americans that the many institutions of the United States, from the FBI in Washington down to a college in Saratoga, are somehow all scheming against them. Well, not that they're all scheming against the average American, but the people who are running them definitely are moving them in those directions. But Rufo is absolutely right about one thing. If Ron DeSantis wants to put him in charge of a top-down restructuring of a Florida college, the governor has every right to do it. Elections have consequences, and if the people of Florida, through their electoral choices, want to wreck one of their own colleges, it is within the state's legitimate power to do so. In fact, Florida could decide tomorrow to amend its own constitution and abolish state universities entirely. God bring the day. Yes, praise Jesus. There's no national right to a college education, and if Florida wants to unleash a battalion of Guy Montags on its own state colleges and their libraries, well, that's up to the voters. But something more important is going on here. At this point in any discussion of college education, we're all supposed to acknowledge that colleges have, in fact, become ridiculously liberal. They fucking have. There's some truth to that charge. I included some stories of campus boobery when I wrote about the role of colleges in America some years back. And only a few weeks ago, I joined the many people blasting Hamline University for going off the rails and violating basic principles of academic freedom while infantilizing and overprotecting students. Fine, so stipulated. Many colleges do silly things and have silly professors saying silly things. Here we go again, motherfucker. But the Sovietization of the new college isn't about any of that. Something has changed on the American right, which is now seized with a hostility toward higher education that is driven by a cultural resentment, and not by critical race theory or any of the other terms that most Americans don't even understand. College, amongst conservatives, has become a kind of shorthand for identifying with all kinds of populist grievances, a ploy used even by Republicans with Ivy League educations as a means of cozying up to its non-college educated and resentful base. See, here's the thing: is they always act like Southerners and Republicans are all a bunch of uneducated, angry morons. I gotta tell you, I have lived most of my life in the relatively deep South. And for the past several years in what is effectively Kentucky extended here in southern Indiana, the people of central and northern Indiana actually call it Kentucky. They don't consider us Indianans, which is fine. I'm a Kentuckian, so that doesn't hurt my feelings any. And I've also spent quite a bit of time in other parts of the country, up north and in the more liberal states. And I gotta say, the general overall intelligence of people in the South and people in red states versus Yankees and liberals, I would put a Southerner or a conservative up against any liberal or Yankee with an aptitude test or anything every day, I'll take the Southerner every day. I don't know what the highbrow self-aggrandizing belief that like people in the North are so much more educated and so much more intelligent. No, you're just a more highbrow version of stupid. You're still every bit as stupid, if not more so. The whole Ivy League thing, the whole thing about this college thing being considered liberal is because they fucking are. Because you see it day in and day out. Kids go into college like, I can't remember where I saw it. It was a kid that it was like beginning of the year, every year of college, and freshman year, she looked like a normal girl, and senior year, she's got blue cropped hair and wearing some sort of crazy getup and looks like something out of a parody magazine that would be making fun of a liberal, like off the fucking rails. And when you see some of this kid's posts and things that she talks about, it's like, dude, they broke your fucking brain. Like, what is wrong with you? And that's what the colleges do. They pump out dumbasses. And back to the article. I'll get back into that in a minute. Finish this up right quick. GOP attitudes about education have changed fast. As recently as 2015, most Republicans, by a wide margin, thought of universities as a positive influence on the United States. 4 years later, those numbers flipped, and nearly 60% of Republicans saw universities as having a negative impact on the country. Because a bunch of these people are finally starting to fucking catch up. Y'all been way behind. And there are some of us who have been saying this for like years and years and years that, you know, like if it wasn't for the fact that the field I was wanting to go into, my best means of advancement was to have a degree, I wouldn't have gone back to college and finished up. I'd have stayed in the field, but I wanted to like move up and be successful. So you need to have that piece of paper that hangs on the wall back there and never accomplishes anything. Like people are starting to figure it out. It doesn't take a lot of sleuthing to realize that those 4 years tracked with the rise of Donald Trump and a movement whose populist catechism includes seething anger at the elites, a class that no longer means people with money and power. After all, Republicans have gobs of both, but rather those bookish snobs who look down on our true, real American values. The Republican... God, Tom Nichols is such a fuckwit. The Republican message, aided by the usual hypocrites in the right-wing entertainment ecosystem, such as Tucker Carlson, a prep school product who told kids to drop out of college, but asked Hunter Biden for help getting his own son into Georgetown, is that colleges are grabbing red-blooded American kids and replacing them with woke communist pod people. This is what's fucking happening. This is a completely bizarre line of attack. It posits that a graduate student making a pedant's grading exams is more elite than a rich restaurant owner. But it works like a charm, in part because how Americans measure their success and their relative status has shifted from the simple metric of wealth to less tangible characteristics about education and lifestyle. See, here's the problem. It's not about wealth. It's because that piece of shit little fucking grad student thinks that he is elite. He thinks that he's smarter than the restaurant owner, even though he's probably not. It's why you see so many of these like cancel Joe Rogan and trust the science like petitions and stuff, and they're all signed by a bunch of fucking grad students who don't know jack dick about anything in life. They have no experience, they have no real world anything. They have sat in a classroom for their whole lives and are ignorant to the world. But these are the ones who put these petitions together to cancel people and all this other stuff. This is why people hate them. This is why people don't want their kids going to college anymore. Our national culture, for both better and worse, has arguably become more of a monoculture even in rural states, and many Americans now living in a hyper-connected world are more aware of cultural differences and the criticism of others. Those self-defined real Americans partake in that same overall national culture, of course, but they nonetheless engage in harsh judgment of their fellow citizens that is at least as venomous as what they imagine is being directed by the elites back at them. Motherfucker, are you not on like any social media? These elites that are engaging in the harshness and the judgment and the venom are fucking legit. It happens all day, every day. Like, for the most part, conservatives troll, and that's it. And they do it because it's funny and because it gets a rise out of these elites who are actually verbally attacking people and mean what they say. Oh, man. Which brings us back to DeSantis, a graduate, he would apparently like you to forget, of Harvard and Yale. I don't think he's ever acted like he didn't go to Harvard and Yale. DeSantis is now a populist, much like Trump, which that word has lost all its meaning with the way they bandy it around. We'll do an episode on populism at some point. Ted Cruz, Princeton and Harvard, Josh Hawley, Stanford and Yale, and Elise Stefanik, Harvard and Ferengi, Diplomatic Academy. He has tasked Rufo, Georgetown and Harvard. Oh, he's like, got to make sure you point out where everybody went to school. To remake a school meant for the sons and daughters of Florida's taxpayers, not so that he can offer more opportunity to the people of his state, but so that he can run for president as one of those regular folks whom reporters flock to interview in diners across the mountains and plains of a great nation. Look, I live in New England. No fucking shit. I could have guessed that. Oh, Tom, you surprised me. I thought you were going to say you lived in fucking Alabama. New England. Bastard. Look, I live in New England, surrounded by excellent public and private institutions. I bet all the kids coming out of those excellent public and private institutions are complete batshit crazy and dumb as a box of fucking rocks. And I candidly admit that I couldn't care less what kind of damage Florida does to its own schools, because you don't view Republicans as real people, kind of the way that the Biden administration is dealing with Ohio and all of the train wrecks and everything going on there right now. If Florida parents really don't want Ron DeSantis appointing ideological commissars to annoyed deans and department chairs, then they should head to the ballot box and fix it. But in the meantime, faux populists, the opportunists, and hucksters who infest the modern GOP are going to undermine education for the people who need it the most. The youngsters who rely on public education, and that's a tragedy, and that's a tragedy that will extend far beyond whatever becomes of the careers of Ron DeSantis and Christopher Russo. See, here's the thing, Tom, that you don't seem to have picked up on, or maybe you've missed the statistics. There are a lot of schools and universities and institutions, colleges, stuff like that, that are largely considered to not be woke, to not have an agenda, to not push a lot of this bullshit. And those are the ones that are seeing their admissions going up significantly, while a lot of other colleges and universities are currently losing students by the thousands. There are some projections that like anywhere from 50 to 70% of colleges and universities are going to be closed within the next 10 years because people don't want to go. But you know which ones are actually going up in attendance? The ones that don't push the woke bullshit. Crazy how that happens. That'll do it for today because I ran a lot longer than I thought I would. I will be back on Monday with a brand new episode, and you can also check out all the daily stuff. Check out the Substack Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:30 a.m. on the morning after. Tuesdays and Fridays with Johnny Profita on Peddling Fiction. I am all over the place, so you should not lack for fact-check content. Have a good one, everybody. Before you go, make sure you check out our great sponsor, Agorist Acres. Now, AgoristAcres.com, you can find over 100 varieties of seeds. They've got vegetables, flowers, all kinds of stuff. They've got heritage brands, everything that you want to start any kind of garden that you need. It's free shipping on any order of $20 or more. They've got cool packaging, and most of the seeds come in a fancy glass vial, no paper envelopes. They accept US dollars and crypto and can easily take either at checkout. Now be sure to head over to agoristacres.com, and anything that you get, use the promo code FCT at checkout for 10% off your order. I say all the time that you need to be starting your own garden, you need to be growing your own food, you need to be getting off the grid and becoming less dependent on grocery stores and stuff like that. Agorist Acres is a great first start. They have got everything you need for whatever kind of garden you want. Great people, great product, highly recommend. So go check them out.